This is a short bite episode of Homeschool Together. Hello and welcome back to Homeschool Together, short bite edition, self-care edition. We are continuing on from our discussion from the last episode about getting fit, and today we're going to talk about some of our favorite home equipment that we have accumulated over the last year and a, maybe for me the last 3 years, but for Ariel probably the last year. Some of our favorite home equipment that we couldn't live without, especially around our fitness journey. For me, I've been doing it for almost about 3 years now. Ariel's been, rocking it for the last year. But we couldn't have done it without a little bit of help. And, we know there's gyms out there. Maybe if you have a gym in your, condo, that'd be great. Or if you have a gym membership at the YMCA or something like that nature, that's great. We found that a lot of times the greatest success for us was having something at the house that we could do at all times.
So we don't know what we would do if we didn't have this stuff at our house. We had a Y membership,
we had it,
but having stuff in our house, we can't say this enough.
So, in the last episode, we talked about how important our Fitbits were and the steps, and we talked about walking and really tracking our activity in that respect. Let's talk about the treadmill. It was probably the single greatest piece of equipment. It's the piece of equipment you always see collecting dust in somebody's garage or in their office or in their spare room.
Right.
For us, the treadmill is probably the most important piece of equipment that we have. And why is that?
Well, yeah. So we, just so that you kind of, if you hadn't listened to that episode, you can remember our setup. We have a treadmill, we have an elliptical. They're next to each other. Those are our big pieces of actual, equipment, automated equipment. So one of the things about it, we got the elliptical first, and I really do love the elliptical. I think it serves its purpose. The elliptical is fantastic for getting your heart rate up really quickly, and it is very low impact. So when I need both steps and zone minutes, I need to get my heart rate up and I need my steps, and I'm just not feeling like doing an all-out run and getting super sweaty. I think the elliptical is really great for that. So we have the elliptical there. And then for the treadmill, I think what's great about this, and everybody has a treadmill, and like you said, people are like, they're gathering dust. Yeah. But when steps is a big part of your life, when getting those steps every day is a huge part of your life, the treadmill is now your best friend. Yes. For us, we use our treadmill all the time, and it's not just to run on, although you do run on it, and I do as well. But we use it to get our steps because we're logging all our food. We talked about the Fitbit and how we log our food. There are plenty of evenings where we get done with dinner and we're like,
that was a little too much.
A little too much. I had some dessert there, and I'm over on my calories. So if the only thing that I've got is a gym membership, I'm not going to get in the car at 10 o'clock and drive down to the gym and then work out because I ate a little bit too much for dinner. I can hop on the treadmill for 20 minutes, go for a light walk while I listen to music or I watch something on the TV.
And we'll talk about that next.
Right? And so I can do that. It is the fastest way. I have taken meetings on the treadmill before. I've got Microsoft Teams meetings, and I can project it to the TV we have there, and I can take meetings on my treadmill. Things I don't have to comment on, like things like all hands meetings where they're it's a live thing to the whole company.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to get into like kind of a zone 2 low heart rate, that's kind of the zone where you can actually have a full conversation with somebody on the phone and they won't even know you're working out.
Right. And I have done this.
Yes.
I have actually propped my phone on FaceTime, and I have talked to my mom while I am walking on the treadmill. Yep. I have taken classes for my MBA while I am on the treadmill. And the thing is,
this saves you from having to pace in your house or pace in your garage or pace in your living room. But we do that sometimes too when we're just having a conversation. Be like, we haven't really talked very much today because we've been very busy. I'm sitting there with 20,000 steps. I don't want to move anymore. So I'll just stand in the stand in the living room, and you will pace the kitchen.
And I'll be pacing while I'm talking if it's like a little bit chilly in our garage.
Yeah.
But
otherwise, for the most part, we go out and
go out and we use the treadmill, and it's so quick. I can walk out into the garage, flip it on. I'm out there for 10 minutes maybe, and I've gotten the last of the steps that I needed for the day.
You need that last 1,000, 1,500
I don't have to get sweaty. I don't have to change out of my clothes. I have been out there in work clothes sometimes. I just need a few more steps. I don't need to get my heart rate way up today.
You can pick a walking pace that is, conducive to what you need in that moment.
Absolutely. So
and how many times have we been on the treadmill and the elliptical at 11:30 at night because our friends came over and we ate too much?
Oh yeah, they stayed over on a Saturday
and we didn't
night.
Get all of our
ate
steps.
And drank too much.
We didn't get all of our steps because we've been sitting playing board games all night.
Right.
And we're like, they leave, and we're like, we look at each other and we're like, just let them pull out of the driveway. Just let them pull out of the driveway. All right, turn the garage on.
We each need to burn 100 calories really quick.
Or
right?
I need to get the last of my steps. Like, your goal has always been 7,000. Mine's always been 7,000 as well, but inside my head it's always 10.
Right.
And
so you're always trying to get at least 10.
I'm always trying to get at least 10, and a lot of times that's tough. But the other thing I like about it too is that, like, during the day you can look out and say, as a stay-at-home dad, I'm with the kids. I'm like, okay, it's going to be a little sticky this afternoon. I'm not going to be able to get outside. It's kind of raining. I'm going to go out and get a quick 1 mile walk. That's 2,000 steps. Boom. I'll log it. Great. Now
and you take the monitor out with you while our little one is sleeping. That's the other thing that's great. Your kid's napping. Great. I can do this.
Yes.
It's wonderful. And what I want to really talk about is I think it is worth investing in good equipment. Now, you don't have to invest in the most expensive equipment, and we didn't.
Oh, no.
But we invested in equipment that we think is quality. I'm 150 pounds. I'm 5'5". You're at
I was well over 300, and now I'm well down from that.
Right,
so.
and you're like at 260 now and 6'6".
Yeah, something like that.
Right in there. And
I'm a svelte tight end.
You are.
You can think of me as like the tight end on,
Yeah, you're doing great. And so what I want to say about this is we wanted to choose pieces of equipment that would handle both of us, right? The fact that you're very tall, you have a big gait, you're heavier.
And I've been logging a lot of running miles on it. And so
you have been running on this treadmill, and not all cheap treadmills will hold up to that. So what we want to say, and we'll link them in the show notes, we chose Soul fitness machines.
They were both our elliptical and our treadmill.
They were a little bit more expensive they weren't the bargain basement machines. No. That's true. But I feel that we've had both of these machines now we've had the elliptical for 2 years. We've had the treadmill for just over a year.
Never had a problem, knock on wood. Yep.
Neither one of them have ever made any weird noises or had any issues. I feel like this is one of those things, if you invest in really poor quality equipment, you won't use it as often.
Yeah.
I feel like we got something that's robust enough. And if we hadn't liked them, I was like, these are good enough quality that we could sell them.
Yep.
So I thought it was good. So we have those next to each other. And the next thing is we have a TV on the wall. Yes. And I think that this is a piece of home gym equipment that is absolutely essential. Yep. It is for us. We have a 32-inch TV mounted on the wall, and we have a Roku plugged into that TV. Yep. And this allows us to do a few really cool things. One, if it's late in the evening, I want to watch some mindless TV. I've had a long day. Mm-hmm. I've been stressed, whatever. I could sit on the couch and watch it, or I could turn on the treadmill on 3 miles an hour, which is a very minimal type of pace, or even less, and I could just watch the show. Yep. And I feel like sometimes I feel so like sluggish after I have sat and watched a TV show for an hour. I'm like, oh man, Yeah. But if I watch a TV show for an hour while walking at a very slow pace, when I get done, I feel really good about myself. I got the mental break that I needed by watching my trashy junk TV, but I did something positive for my body at the same time. One of the other things about this is because it's a Roku, we can cast to the TV. We actually got a TV
a Roku specific TV.
I think it's a Sony, and the Roku is built in, but you could just buy a Roku too. What I like about the Roku is that I can cast my phone to it. So if I have a meeting or something going on.
Because you have an iPhone.
Because I have an iPhone, I can go ahead and cast my phone to the TV. So, I've got a Microsoft Teams meeting. Okay, I can go ahead and just cast it to the TV, and I can watch that while I walk. Because it's a Roku, and we have the Roku app on our iPhones.
And this is the best thing because we have two pieces of equipment.
This is the best thing. We have two pieces of equipment. We have the Roku app on our iPhones, which means that I turn on the private listening button. So I put in my wireless earbuds so that I don't have to hear the noise of the treadmill, because treadmills are kind of loud.
Yeah, both of them could be. The elliptical is actually very quiet.
The elliptical's quiet, but the treadmill's kind of loud.
Yeah.
And so we can actually, because we both have the apps and you just put the private listening button on the Roku.
We both have our earbuds in.
We have our earbuds in. We can actually watch a show together.
Yes.
So one of us is on one equipment and the other one's on the other, even if we're not working out hard.
That's how we watch Squid Game together.
Yeah. A lot of times it's one of these things where one of us like you said, one of us has met our goal for the day and the other one hasn't, and we're going to support each other.
Yes.
And I'm just going to go out there. Sometimes you're like, I just need to run, I need a 20-minute run. And I'm like, great, I'll do the elliptical at a really
very
low.
often I've gotten my numbers and you haven't because you've been busy all day
right.
working and
or vice
doing
versa.
all that,
But what we'll do is the other person will do not really a workout, but something
We'll tag along.
We'll tag along and we'll do something that's active, but that's minimal. That's like not going to get you to sweat, so I don't have to go take a shower afterwards. But I'm there with you. I am doing something that's active and good for my body.
Yes.
And we're watching a show together, or we're talking together, or whatever. So having those two pieces of equipment side by side with that TV in front of them, I cannot tell you guys how much. If we didn't have those, I do not think I would have lost this weight. And I think that having those Soul machines and having a good TV with a Roku, those are my essential pieces of equipment.
Well,
If any one of those things broke tomorrow, we would go out and buy another.
The number one essential piece of equipment is you being supportive and going together and doing it together. And
well, I agree.
Like in this scenario where you talked about, we've done this a lot of times where we're working out, we're just talking or chatting. It's like, I'm not just going to stand there. I'll get on the treadmill and I'll walk while you're doing your elliptical, and we can
how could we do something positive with this time?
Decompress the day, right?
Right.
And we know that it doesn't feel like we're stealing away from being. It's not like we don't have relaxing moments or we can't just sit down and talk.
Right.
It's not like we don't do that. But if we're gonna chat for half an hour, or we're gonna watch a show, or Lord of the Rings show or something like that, let's go and do that on the treadmill while we watch it.
Right.
Let's not waste this time.
Right. There's plenty of times where we watch a movie on the couch. We have a really big screen TV and we love to do that. Don't get us wrong, but when we have busy weekdays and I've been at work and you've been homeschooling the kids.
It's not weird for us to say, hey, can I just do this on the treadmill with you? Or can you do this on the treadmill with me?
Or I want to talk to you about your day, but gosh, I'm low on my steps. Would you just come out with me? And so we do. And sometimes I'll just sit on the workbench next to you while you're running and we're talking.
Yeah.
And that's cool too. But the fact that we have this equipment at home, I can't stress how important it is to have your own equipment. If you live in an apartment or someplace small, you could even get a treadmill that folds up and stows under your couch or behind.
Exactly.
We'll link one that we found in the show notes that I just recommended to a friend of mine to buy at work that has a small place. And she was like, she wants to just have a treadmill she can pull out so she could walk while she watches a show in her living room.
Yeah, she has this difficulty of getting her steps at the end of the night.
Right.
Because she lives in an apartment or in a small house.
Right. She's been busy and she's like, well, it's so hard to get up and go to the gym at 9:00 at night. And I'm like,
of course it is. Yeah.
I will never do that. I will, even after our children are older and they move out of the house. Before we had children, I would never do that. I would never go to the gym at 9:00 at night.
Unless it was like we scheduled, that was the only time we could do it, but never.
We would do it for short spurts of when we get on a big, workout kick, we do it for a little bit, but we never did it with any consistency because you've got to get your clothes on, get down to the gym, go there, sign and drive
Yes.
The fact that I can go out into our garage and if I have 6 minutes to myself, I can walk for a few minutes and take some time to myself. Amazing.
When you do a lot of walking, you can get a mile at about 3.5 miles per hour in about 16 minutes. It's incredible. Like to get two quick 1,000 steps. There are so many times in the last year where I have said like, oh, you're hanging with the girls on the couch talking about the day. Like, hey, can I just grab a little bit of time to go on the treadmill? And I'll walk out there for 20 quick minutes. 20 minutes. I mean, what is 20 minutes?
Yeah, it's nothing.
Put my headphones in, listen to an audiobook, listen to a podcast like this one, Homeschool Together. And you can sit there and knock out 2,000 steps in a heartbeat.
You often wake up early in the morning and you'll go down and you'll do your workout.
I love starting the day.
Right. And the great thing is, the moment you turn on the car, oh man, the kids are going to wake right up.
Oh yeah.
Everyone wakes up, the dog, everybody's like, whoa. But you just go downstairs and hop on the treadmill. Yep. Nobody even wakes up.
And I'm running on that
This morning, the entire family slept through you running downstairs on the treadmill watching a show.
I did 1 mile in 8.5 minutes today, guys. I did an 8.5 minute mile. That's 7 miles an hour.
That was big for him. It was really exciting. So we can't stress that enough, that having these pieces of equipment is really important. If your thing is rowing, great, or if your thing is whatever. But
perfect, yeah.
But I really think that the lowest barrier to entry here is to have a treadmill. And it's funny because your mom feels like a treadmill is like a death machine. She's like, oh, why would I want a treadmill? I'll just go for a walk.
But now we've got them thinking about steps. And once you start thinking about steps, you start thinking about the treadmill.
When you're in the steps groove, and I think that the steps thing is, what I love about it is it's easy. It's easy, but it's not.
Gamification.
Yeah,
I can get
it's
the
like-
points. I'm going to go collect all the points.
If I'm not in the mood to have a hard workout and do this
Yeah.
big sweat thing, whatever, I can just get steps. At least I'm doing something positive and I'm keeping myself from being active. It's a very low barrier to entry. Just move.
Yep.
You don't have to go all out. Just move.
Yeah.
Yes, you should get your heart rate up a few times a week, of course. And we talked about that on our episode. But I'm just saying, like, having it at home makes this accessible. And for us being
easier to
so
be more
busy.
It made success easier to obtain.
Right. When you go to work all day, like if, and your kids are in school, you could maybe go to the company gym at lunch, or you could stop on the way home or whatever. Like, we're home all the time. You're home all the time with our girls. And I'm at work and I'm trying to get back home to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
The only time we have to work out is when we're here. I can lose less time away. I'm making dinner and you go and hop and get 20 minutes on the treadmill while I'm cooking. I mean, just easy things. And I think when you're a homeschooling parent, you have to take those little bits of time you can get.
Exactly, yeah.
There are plenty of days where you do your workout, quote unquote, in 4 different chunks because that's the time you were able to get.
Yeah, I have some workouts where I'm just doing 20,000 steps, and that's 11 miles, so 10 to 11 miles.
Right.
And I can't get that in one.
Right. And you have to stay in the house because our kids are still here. So you have the monitor with you and you're like, okay, Dad's going to go out for a few minutes while you guys are doing your art. I've got the monitor. You can watch them. You're listening. You can see that everything's okay.
And if you think about it, if you have some older kids and they're, 9, 10, 11, 12, they can be inside doing their schoolwork, doing whatever they're doing. And you could just step out for a half hour and do, go get 3 miles,
Right. In the rainy Pacific Northwest, we can't always
we've
walk
really
outside
felt
and
this
do that.
because when we first started this journey, it was kind of like the end of winter, early spring. And we started doing, a lot of steps, and we really used the summer and the fall, and it was just such a beautiful time. We went out walking a lot, even though we still used the treadmill. Where the treadmill has paid for itself in spades is this fall winter time frame where it's cold. I mean, we're in the rainy area of the country, but you could be in the snowy area of the country and you're not going out walking and you're not going to pace your kitchen. I've had to do that at my parents' house where I just go into their garage and I just pace, go in circles to get 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 steps, and you're in there for a half hour. I wish I could just sit on a treadmill and just go get your steps.
And watch my show.
Watch a show or something, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would prefer to do. So I think
we have
for us, those are
the treadmill,
those are key.
the elliptical. The elliptical gets you your steps faster. That's something to keep in mind.
And gets your heart rate up a little bit easier with lower impact. So I think that it's really great. And so if you are a person that impact is a big deal, maybe you want to do the elliptical
it was for
to
me
get steps.
when we first started was the elliptical. I needed elliptical less impact because I was such a big guy. Now I can do my running, and I actually don't use the elliptical as much anymore because I'm trying to get some goals on running wise. But the elliptical I love because I could watch a whole movie on the elliptical. Even though it feels like there's a little bit more activity, it feels a little bit easier than running because there's just not so much impact.
It is easier.
Number of times I've watched an entire movie on the elliptical.
But you can get your heart rate up, I think.
You can.
With less stress on the rest of your joints and everything
so,
on the elliptical. So we really like that. So those are our favorite pieces. We've used Soul Fitness equipment pieces. We're going to link those in the show notes because they're our favorites and we have tested the heck out of them.
Yep. And then one side for me, I've been using for a long time is I've been using my kettlebells. That has been a big thing for me. So kettle swings. So if you have a husband out there, or if you're a dude or a lady who's looking to kind of really train the hinge motion, that kind of that throwing motion, that deadlifting motion, the biggest joint on your body is from the hip. And for me, that when I first started my journey, the kettlebell was kind of the starting point of everything for me. I've got a pretty heavy kettlebell, but you can obviously get pretty affordable kettlebells. I know during the pandemic there was a run on kettlebells, and they got really expensive, but I believe the prices have come back down. You can get them on, Plate Against Sports and things like that. You can even get them at Walmart.
Yeah, we'll link some of your favorite ones.
Exactly. I just go to wherever has a bunch of kettlebells, pick them up. The big thing that I enjoyed doing once I trained the swing, did a really good job at kind of perfecting the motion. I started doing the 10,000 kettlebell swing challenge, and I found that to be a kind of a great mix of like strength training and cardiovascular exercise. That was really great for me. So kettlebells, but also I've been using these bands. So these are not the cheap bands that you can buy from like, some sporting goods place. These are some heavy duty weightlifting bands. And where I've been using these is as anchor replacements for any type of strength training for your body. You can get these wall anchors that they can anchor the band to, and I'll put a link to in the show notes for both the anchors and the bands that I get. There's a bunch of different band manufacturers. They're kind of all just knockoff versions of each other, but they're very affordable, very cheap. You can get them at different weight levels, and what I've been using them is just for approximating weight machine activities, shoulders, chest, biceps, things of that nature. I also have a squat rack that I have, and I use the bands for assisted pull-ups, so I can get some real big compound movements there as well. You can also use the bands wrapped in with your kettlebell to kind of increase deadlifting capability. So if that is something that you're doing, whether you're a sumo lift or a deadlift, you can do that to add weight and add resistance to a kettlebell workout. So I've really been enjoying kettlebells, really been enjoying my bands. So outside of the treadmill and the elliptical and the television, for me, a big thing that I've been using a lot of is my kettlebells and these heavy duty weightlifting bands. So I think that's our home equipment right there.
Yeah. This is all the equipment. And I don't think there's anything else we're going to need, really.
I've got a lot of other things. I've got Olympic bars and other things. I got plate weights and stuff like that I do as well. But for the most part, those are probably between all of them, those are the things I use the most. So.
Yep, absolutely. This is our essential equipment. Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time.
Happy homeschooling!